1 week down. So yes, I am 1 week down on my intermittent fasting challenge. And I thought I would actually talk to you about how I did and some of the things that I learned and noticed about myself. I have now completed 1 week of my 16/8 intermittent fasting. And I thought it would be fun to share with you how I did, what my weight did, and some of the little things that I picked up on as the week went by. And as a bonus, I have a friend that I was talking to about my plan to do the intermittent fasting. She researched it and she started a 36-12 plan. So I'm going to actually share some of her thoughts of what she discovered about it during it for the first week, and I'll give you her results also. For me, I struggle with breakfast. Breakfast is not something that I normally gravitate toward. So a lot of times breakfast just kind of disappears from my life. And years ago, I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, you're doing that intermittent fasting stuff. And I'm like, no. Turns out I was. And so I've done intermittent fasting here and there throughout the last couple of years. And I typically like to do it, but then I read a book or I hear the nutritionist saying, you've got to eat your breakfast. So I go back to eating breakfast. When I lost the 130 pounds, I actually was eating breakfast. So my mind tells me to go back to eating breakfast because I was successful with it before. I'm surely going to be successful this time if I do it. And so I understand that they tell you to eat breakfast. But I also have read the book, Obesity Code, and I actually really understand and think the concept behind intermittent fasting and the insulin resistance is actually probably something that pertains to me. So it's like a 50-50 thing. About a week or two ago, I was thinking about my journey and about how I am just struggling to do anything. I'm struggling to keep my calories at a level that I know I can lose. I'm struggling to not eat too many carbs because I know for my body, I can have one serving a day, or one meal a day with carbs in it. And I'm struggling with this and struggling with that, and my weight's not moving, and this and that and the other. And I was just so disillusioned. It's probably the best word for it. I was disillusioned. Never thought about quitting, but I was just so disillusioned. What in the heck am I going to eat? I don't like a lot of plain eggs. I'll eat them once every couple weeks, but I don't want to eat just an egg in the morning. Yeah, sure, I'll eat an egg and bacon sandwich, but there you go. You're adding the bread back on, so there goes back the carbs. So what do you eat? So I was like struggling to find food for each meal, and it was just tough. And then all of a sudden one day I'm like, intermittent fasting. I can do that. I can do that. That would actually take away that whole breakfast thing that I don't know what to eat, because what I want to eat for breakfast is toast, pancakes, waffles, bagels, you name it. So I decided to start intermittent fasting, and I started it a week ago. And the first day was no problem. I actually did great. Didn't even think about it, just kind of didn't eat until noon and I was fine. Day 2 rolled around. Day 2 was probably one of the roughest ones for me wanting to eat. And it really wasn't even because I was hungry. I actually put food in the crock pot in the morning and I was smelling it all morning, and it made me think about food, and I wanted food so bad. I did not cave. I did not eat until like 12:30, 12:45, which is when my lunch break was from work. Did great. On Tuesday, I noticed something. I noticed that I was drinking more. In the morning, I was just drinking. I was really thirsty. My mouth was so dry. And I was like, wonder what's happening with that. Same thing happened on Wednesday and Thursday. Without eating the breakfast, with the intermittent fasting, I started to naturally want and need to drink more water. Go figure. Other than that day where the crock pot was on and I was smelling it, I have not had a problem with any of the days that I've done intermittent fasting. Easy peasy. You could say, you were at work, so that's part of it. That is true, but it is Saturday while I'm filming this, and I made it till about 12:45, and it didn't bother me in the slightest. Now, I was thinking about food, but it wasn't so much that I was like hungry. It was just kind of like, when I get home, it'll be about 12, I can eat. So it really wasn't that difficult. The one thing that I noticed was I would get to the end of the day and I'd be putting my calories in my tracker, because a lot of people say when they intermittent fast, they do not track food. You don't have to track your food if you're an intermittent faster. For me, I do. I can do a lot of damage in 8 hours with food. I also know that if I eat carbs that whole time, it's not going to work. So I am still tracking my food. I'm still watching how many carbs I get. So I'm actually just added intermittent fasting on. I didn't take anything away. I just added it on. So I noticed at the end of the day when I was actually starting to put my calories into my tracker, I'd be like, oh my word, that was so easy to keep my calories between 12 and 1400 calories. And I averaged at the week probably about 13 to 1350. It was so easy without that breakfast, with losing that breakfast where I was eating 300, 400 calories. Without that, it eased up the stress of trying to keep my calories down. I didn't actually have to really fuss with it. I ate naturally what I wanted in the evening, and it just happened magically that my calories were always in line. So that was amazing. And that alone, without having to worry about those calories, was enough to be like, I'm sold. So that was a good thing. Now comes the difficult part. I was off on Friday, and I had already, before the whole intermittent fasting thing, had decided that I was going to do my errands in the morning and I was going to go get my cinnamon crunch bagel, because the cinnamon crunch bagels are delicious. I also know from experience that if you wait until like 11 or 12, which is when I would have normally broke my fast, they probably don't have them left. They sell out like crazy. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to do intermittent fasting on Friday. I will just eat normally and I'll do fine. I will just manage my calories and I will be great. So I went out and got my cinnamon crunch bagel. I ran my errands and I got home, and oh my word, I was so hungry the rest of the day. I wanted to eat so bad. It was crazy. Here I had gone the whole week. I hadn't even had breakfast though those days, and I wasn't even missing food. Yet the day that I had breakfast, I was hungry. So hungry the rest of the day. And honestly, I wasn't hungry before I headed to Panera Bread. You know, I was like, take it or leave it. If they wouldn't have had my cinnamon crunch bagel, I would have been like, okay, nothing. But eating it just kind of sparked this whole gotta eat, gotta eat, gotta eat. It was crazy. So, yeah, don't even know about that. That was the weirdest thing. So I have actually now completed a week of intermittent fasting, and I feel like I did good. I did the one day that I broke it, but I did it knowingly, willingly, and carefully, because I did watch my calories the rest of the day. And I think I did spectacularly. During the week, I actually dropped, are you ready? 6 pounds. I am not getting excited yet. I want to wait and see how my weight holds over the weekend, holds over the next couple of days, to make sure it really is trending down, because my weight has been like this lately, and I'm having a hard time believing that it is trending down. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just being cautiously optimistic that this really is the weight going down. So yes, now on to my friend and her intermittent fasting experience. So I was talking to her at work, and we've talked about our weight and exercise and what we want to do. And I had mentioned, you know what, I am at my wit's end. I've got to do something, and I've decided I'm going to do intermittent fasting. She didn't say anything. And that's fine. It's not for everybody. She didn't say anything until Wednesday of this past week at work. And she called me. She goes, hey, I got to talk to you. I'm like, what's happening? And she was like, do you know when you were talking about intermittent fasting? I'm like, well, yeah, sure. She goes, how you doing? So I told her how I was doing and what I was feeling. She goes, I did my research that night after you told me that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. She goes, I decided to intermittent fast also. She goes, I know you said you're doing a 16-8, but I am doing a 36-hour fast followed by a 12-hour eat period. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's real cool. And she started it. So she is also doing a fast, and she is also going through the experience with me. And the first day, she's like, I wasn't even hungry. And it was very interesting. She went 36 hours and didn't eat, and she wasn't even hungry. And then the second day, she said it was a little rough because she ate a little bit more junk food, but she is doing it. And she's weighing herself every day. She started at the beginning of the week. She started on Tuesday. So Tuesday was her fast day. And on Wednesday, she was down 3 pounds from one day. And she was talking, she goes, I'm not being optimistic because, I'm going to eat today and let's see what happens with that. So it was her eat day. She came in the next day. She goes, Mary Fran, I gained 1 pound. She goes, I'm tickled because I lost 3, gained 1, which means I've lost 2 pounds. So what else has happened with her weight? So she had another day of fasting and she dropped another 3 pounds. So the weight is coming off for her also. She is using water to her advantage. Whenever she thinks she's hungry, she's just drinking. She's pounding the water. And that's kind of what I'm doing, but naturally I started it. She and I are both doing a dirty fast. She's like, I'm not doing what they say, a clean fast. I said, no, neither am I. Because I still do my Trace Minerals vitamin water pack. And she's also doing vitamins. So neither one of us are doing a clean fast, but it seems to be working for us. Week 1 was a success for both of us. So let me know what you think of intermittent fasting. And if you have done it, let me know how successful you've been. No excuses.